Welcome back to Old School Sports and our OOTP 22 playthrough of the New York Yankees. We are in the early stages of the 25-26 offseason. Just got through arbitration. Actually didn't even have anyone go through arbitration. We extended Stephen Riding, Sean Murphy, Pavin Smith, and Luis Heel. Came to agreements with them so we didn't have to go to arbitration. And we have also signed Jonathan Lasaiga to a 3-year extension. So a couple of minor moves as we are getting ready for free agency. Through 4 years running the team, we've won the AL East the last 2 seasons, but we're not going to grade ourselves on a different scale than we graded Brian Cashman. The goal is winning World Series championships. And although we're not quite 1 for our last 21 in doing that, we are 0 for 4, so definitely need to improve. Goals for the 2026 season are to reach the playoffs and upgrade at first base. Our new ownership also is being much more fiscally responsible, which we don't love, and we need to cut the payroll to $200 million by the end of this season, which leaves us, as you can see, about $45 million to spend. So we can still be active in free agency. Thinking about our approach as to how we're going to spend some of that free agency money, looking at our starting rotation with Nola, Minaya, and Rodriguez, our top 3 are really strong, and Jack Flaherty is certainly fine. Probably would like to find somebody a little stronger than Luis Funky Cole Medina to be our number 5 starter. So could definitely see ourselves spending some money in free agency or trying to make a trade for another starter. If you look at the stamina of our pitchers, especially now that we let Jameson Taillon go, don't really have an obvious candidate. It would probably be Luis Heel if we needed a starter in a pinch. So would like to add another arm or 2. And then we are also all righties out of the bullpen right now. So we did lose Andrew Chafin and Josh Taylor, who were our lefties as free agents. Possible that we'll bring Taylor back, but need to look for a second lefty arm for the bullpen, 2 lefty arms for the bullpen at the very least to kind of balance things out there. You can see we have a lot of kind of replacement level guys in the bullpen, so we can certainly trade them away, or in the case of anyone who has options, send them down to Scranton when we add some people. So the plan with pitching is pretty straightforward, I think. It's just a matter of executing on it. Thinking about our lineup, however, that's where we probably have some more work to do. Real happy with our outfield with Shu, Bellinger, Dominguez, and Judge, playing the 3 outfield spots and probably some DH among them. Catcher, interesting. Sean Murphy is going to be back. And then we're right now, if the season started today, we would bring Diego Cartaya up from AAA. Can probably do better there, but the infield is where we need to pay the most attention. Don't love any of our infielders at this point. Bogarts at short, coming off a disappointing offensive season, and is a average at best shortstop defensively. If he's not producing offensively, he's not a great person to have in the lineup. Third base looks like it's going to be Andujar after we've moved on in free agency from Max Muncy, who is also getting a little older. Don't know that Andujar is really ready to hold it down on a daily basis. We've also got Vargas, who could probably play at third for us, going to be a rookie this coming season. Nick Gonzalez had a real nice rookie year for us at second base. He's probably the position that we feel the strongest about. Seems like he could be a plus hitter and a adequate defensive second baseman. And then first base right now with Freddie Freeman going into free agency is now Austin Shenton and Pavin Smith. Definitely an area that we need to improve. I do kind of feel like one move can make a huge difference. You know, if we bring in a really good shortstop, we can move Bogarts to third, and then we've got options at second base, and Andujar can maybe give us a right-handed bat to platoon at first with either Smith or Shenton. You know, by the same token, if we bring in a real strong first baseman, that lets us send one of these guys away and have a little more versatility with the rest of our infielders. So I think infield is the key area that we need to do something. Exactly what it is going to kind of depend on the pricing of the different free agents who are out there and what's available in the trade market. So looking at the potential options in free agency, you can see there's some real strong high-end options with Buehler, Kershaw, Gossman, Julio Urias, Luis Castillo, Jose Barrios, Michael Kopech, Joe Musgrove, our old friend Carlos Rodon. So a lot of options at starting pitcher. It's just some of them may be a bit expensive for us. Thinking about relievers, you know, Josh Hader would clearly be a really strong lefty. We mentioned Josh Taylor, and we've already made an offer to hopefully bring him back at $4 million a year for the next 3 years. Pomerantz, Aaron Bummer, our old friend Chafin, who we probably won't bring back. He's looking for around $3.5 million, 35 years old, coming off a fine season, but I think we're going to try to get a little younger there. Thinking about our infielders, there's players there. I just don't know outside of Cronenworth. I don't think there's a great option who's good offense and good defense. Corey Seager would probably be the closest, but he's going to be very expensive, and he's also fragile. And at shortstop, you know, he's not a huge upgrade defensively, if at all, from Bogarts at this point. Probably a little better defensively, but still just a bit above average. And if we're going to make a big move, we'd like to really improve the team defense. That's another one of our goals for this season. So not great options among the infielders, unfortunately, but hopefully as the offseason progresses, there will be more and more people on the trade block, perhaps, and we may be able to make a trade for what we need. And then catcher, another situation, you know, the high end with Posey would obviously be awesome, but spending close to $18 million a year probably isn't going to work for us. We could go back to a Tucker Barnhart, who we had a few seasons ago, or Jacob Stallings, who we had a few seasons ago, or even our good old friend who is out there, Austin Hedges. So there's definitely defensive options out there if we want them. Just a matter of how weak offensively we think we can actually live with, and whether we're kind of improving from the situation that we have right now behind the plate with Murphy and Cartaya. Clearly, you know, Murphy defensively is what we're looking for. You can see he hasn't hit over 187 in 3 years, so that's certainly not optimal. And then Cartaya is not as good defensively, but still an above average catcher who's, you know, close to an average, you know, major league hitter. So not the worst thing if we end up with him as our backup. So that is the high-level plan for the offseason. We will report back as we begin executing on it. Well, we're in the middle of December and finally have made one move. As I mentioned, we had made an offer to Josh Taylor, who we traded for at the trade deadline last year. He's coming back for 3 seasons at $4 million a year to be a lefty out of our bullpen. Hopefully he can pitch more like he did with us than he did with Boston in 2024 or Tampa Bay before he came over. But has good stuff and great movement, just a matter of whether or not he can control it, and also good against lefties. So happy to make one little piece of progress. Right now we only have one other offer outstanding. It's been a pretty quiet free agency period for us. Do have an offer to Jose Barrios. Would potentially hurt Toronto and help ourselves if we can bring him on board. We offered him a 5-year deal, averaging about $15 million a year. We'll see where that goes. The pickings are pretty slim otherwise. No great fits for us as far as a second left-handed pitcher, and also struggling to find a infielder who will kind of either fill a huge hole for us at perhaps third base or first base, or potentially take over at shortstop and then allow us to shift some other things around. Haven't found a perfect answer for that in the free agent market. Going to continue trying to see if there's anyone on the trade block that might fit the bill, and then we could always go crazy and just search for a player who fits what we're looking for perfectly and then try to blow a team away with the offer. We still do have, at this point, the 7th best minor league system in baseball. You can see we've got a fair number of top 100 prospects, so we do have currency to use if we decide that we want to make some kind of crazy trade for a stud infielder. We will see what happens. Things have been going quietly for us in free agency, so we finally decided to tap the trade market. Made a pretty big trade. Had to give up Tyvon Moore, who is the number 92 prospect in baseball, as well as Dayro Perez, good prospect, and then E.P. Reese, Lucas Berry, and Randy Vasquez, who are less promising prospects than those three. But we picked up Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pirates. He is in the last year of his contract, making, as you can see, over $21 million. I think that was getting very expensive for the Pirates, but he will slot right into third base for us. Definitely replace what we had with Max Muncy, and hopefully when you look at his age, not a great home run hitter, but pretty much good contact, great gap power, and pretty good eye and avoiding Ks, and then great defensively, great in the clubhouse. Look at it as an upgrade for us, obviously. Still not thrilled with what our infield looks like at this point, but the addition of Ke'Bryan Hayes definitely is a move in the right direction for us. So happy to have him on board. Still need to give some thought to what the offense ultimately looks like next year. If you kind of look at what we've done so far, it's really just Ke'Bryan Hayes and then bringing back Josh Taylor. Not too much going on. We do have an offer out to Julio Urias. Coming off an injury, fragile, but he is a left-handed arm. Not looking for a huge contract, so if we can add him, that would at least move us in the right direction in terms of adding another starter to the roster for us. That could be helpful. And we still have, about $25 million to potentially spend. So even if we add Urias, still have 18 or so million. So can still make another move. Would like to do something with the infield, but the addition of Ke'Bryan Hayes is a big step in the right direction, I think, for us. We are into February. In late January, we did end up signing Julio Urias, so he will slot into the rotation. You can see he only pitched 5 games for the Dodgers last year, so coming off of a relatively serious injury, a partially torn labrum. He's fragile at this point, but at $6.4 million, figured it was a good gamble. It's either he'll either be essentially worthless if he's injured the whole season, but if he's healthy, he's certainly shown that he's a more than above average and sometimes extraordinary pitcher. So, we'll either get, zero value for the $6.4 million or probably $15 or $20 million of value, and is a big market team, that's a trade we can make. And then we made a interesting addition just earlier today. You'll remember that our ownership wants us to upgrade at first base. Not thrilled with our options there, and we just signed Pete Alonso, whose career has not gone the way over the last several years that Mets fans would have hoped. Signed him to a 1-year deal for $6.5 million. You can see he still has pretty good home run power, but the rest of his batting profile is very average. Has come nowhere close to the 53 homers he hit as a rookie. And you can see, last season with Washington, had some injury problems in just 8 home runs, 34 ribbies, a 244 average. Still was a positive OPS plus relative to the league. Not a great defensive player, but it's only a 1-year commitment for us and him. If things go well, ownership will be happy because we'll have, I think, upgraded at first base. And similar to the deal we signed with Urias, this deal ends up probably being a big win for us, or kind of a useless contract if Alonso's really washed up. So we are getting close to the start of spring training. Still have about $12 million potentially that we could add to payroll. I think at this point, the last thing we're looking to do is add another arm. Would love it to have been another starter. Doesn't realistically seem like it's going to be with what's available out there. Looking at the pitchers, you can see that Diaz and Hader, Cole Sulser, Devin Williams, Rosenthal, Boxberger, a lot more kind of high-end relievers out there at this point than high-end starters. So may look to lock up a reliever. Gaussman would be interesting, but he did not pitch at all last year. Scouting accuracy on him is incredibly low, and he's been out for literally a year and a half at this point with a torn labrum. So I think there's just too big a question of what he actually is at 35 years old when he starts pitching again. So a few decisions for us to make as we head closer to the start of spring training. We are at the start of spring training. Did make one more free agent acquisition, added Josh Hader, the lefty, to the bullpen, signed him to a 3-year deal at $6.5 million a year. Certainly expensive for a reliever, but $6.5 million is better than the $16 million that we were paying Chapman to fill a similar role just a few years ago. So hopefully that contract will work out. You look at where we are now, up to about $195 million in payroll, so still under the $200 million that ownership is looking for us to achieve this season. Don't know, It's interesting. I thought we upgraded first base, bringing on Pete Alonso. Given the way Scott Leyes wants to do his lineup, it looks like Alonso has just gone into the DH position, which means that our young prospect Jason Dominguez, who had been our DH, is now going to be getting less playing time, and we still have a mishmash at first base with Logan Davidson, Austin Shenton, and Pavin Smith all kind of fighting for the position in spring training. We'll see what materializes there, but probably not going to get the big upgrade there that management was looking for. We need to improve our defensive efficiency from worst in the league. Hopefully, we can make some progress there. The addition of Cabrian Hayes will certainly help at third base, but that is not a position that gets a ton of opportunities in an average game. So, not sure how significant that'll be. So we may struggle with that. But the hope is that we are back in the playoffs next season. We make continued progress towards our attendance goals, and we also achieve our payroll goals to keep management happy. We are going to play through spring training now, hopefully have no injuries, and come back and let you know if that was the case or not. Well, we are to the end of spring training and just about ready to begin the 2026 season. Made one interesting trade just a few moments ago. We traded away who was going to be our starting first baseman, Logan Davidson, to the Cubs. You can see he's got about an average hitting profile. He is very good defensively at first base. but his hitting is, it looks like it's going to be average is at best. And for some reason, Scott Leius wanted to start him at first base over not only Pete Alonso but also Austin Stenton, who is a lefty bat that looks very similar to his, not quite as good defensively, as well as Pavin Smith, who in my opinion, clearly has a better better batting profile, good in the clubhouse, also pretty good defensively. So and then as I mentioned, we picked up Alonso in the offseason. So what we got back in return was we traded away a minor league pitcher, and we got back a AAA outfielder in Alexander Canario, and a probably AA or AAA pitching prospect in Gavin Kennedy. Not necessarily, thinking that either of them is going to turn into the be-all and end-all. But what it did do is it moved Pete Alonso back into Scott Leius' starting lineup and lets us get the young prospect Jason Dominguez more action at designated hitter in the lineup. So we think that gives us a better lineup. Have one cut to make with 14 players on our team, and this one's going to be a bit controversial. It looks like Leius wants to start Alexander Vargas, who had a brief time with the Yankees in 2024, spent the entire season last year at Scranton, where he had a nice year, hitting 300. Vargas is, offensive profile, kind of average hitter at best, low on power, solid defensive second baseman. But you compare him to Nick Gonzalez, the rookie who played for us last year. Vargas, definitely better, a little bit better defensively. I don't think he's as good as a hitter, but Leius wants to start Vargas for some reason. So my big decision here is whether to keep Vargas up. He does have one option year left, or go against his wishes and send Vargas down, and Gonzalez has 3 option years left, so we can do either. I honestly think what I'm going to do is keep Vargas up. It seems weird to be sending down a second baseman who hit 300 as a rookie, did everything that we could ask for him, and is going to turn 27 years old shortly. But what I think I'm going to do is send Gonzalez down to AAA, see if I can get him to be a better, third base prospect. He doesn't have a great arm, so he's never going to be great there, but let him play a little bit of third base and first base over the next month or so, and then maybe even a little bit of left or right field to make him more versatile defensively, and then potentially turn him into kind of a super sub for us. That's one option. The other option is just sending Vargas down and giving the job back to Gonzalez. And then the third option is to do something with Miguel Andujar. But although he never walks, he does have some power, solid bat, not great defensively, but pretty versatile, and a good work ethic. So we'll have to make the final decision on who the last man on our roster is going to be, and would love to hear thoughts from anyone down below on whether we make the right decision. And then on the pitching side, we've kind of cut down to the 13 pitchers that we're going to have on the roster. You can see that the rotation is Nola, Minaya, Rodriguez, Urias, and Luis Funky Cole Medina. And we do have one injury that we are dealing with right now. Fortunately, not a major injury, but Jack Flaherty, who would otherwise be in the rotation, suffered an oblique strain a couple of weeks ago, out for about a month. Then we'll rehab him in AAA for probably a couple of starts, and then presumably, if everyone else is healthy, he will take the spot in the rotation from Medina. And we made the decision to send last year's starting second baseman down to the minors. So we moved Nick Gonzalez down to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. As I mentioned, we are going to try to spend the next couple of months playing him in a variety of positions, just kind of improving his versatility. I think he definitely has a spot on the big club for the long term with a plus bat. And while he's not great defensively, if we can make him versatile, he could become, kind of a super sub for us, and or someone who could potentially be a starter at several different positions depending on what our roster looks like at any given time. But Scott Leyes seems to want to start Alexander Vargas, and if we do have Vargas at second base and Cabrian Hayes at third, that will help our defense be better than hopefully it was last season. Obviously, still having Bogarts at shortstop is not optimal. You can see he's, kind of average in his ability to play the position, and doesn't make a lot of errors, has a nice arm, but his infield range would love that to be higher. But hopefully he can have a bounce back season from last year when he batted just 228 in a league leading 676 at bats. And that is where we are. We will see what this team looks like going forward, but cautiously optimistic that we're going to have another solid season. Made most of the changes we wanted to. Brought in a couple of left-handed pitchers, brought in a starter in Urias, brought in a new third baseman in Cabrian Hayes, a new first baseman in Pete Alonso, both of them just here for one-year commitments. Alonso, presumably that's probably all it will be. If he has a good bounce back here, he'll be looking for more on the free market. Cabrian Hayes, obviously we'll need to think about whether we want to sign him to a longer term contract. The other option going forward would be to move Bogarts to third base, where he profiles as a much better defender after this season. Let Cabrian Hayes go, and then try to do something at shortstop going forward. But those are largely problems for the next offseason, or at the very least waiting to see where we are at the trade deadline this year. The 2026 season is going to begin with our next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.